warriors, welcome, and it is such a pleasure to be here with you in this important video today. My friends, the personalized anxiety meditations are now out. Go check them out right here. And today what I want to discuss is the differences between anxiety sensations and anxiety symptoms. Dennis, there's a difference? Absolutely there's a difference. And not only do I want to focus on the differences, but my friends, throughout the many years that I've been helping people heal their anxiety disorders, I've realized certain patterns that come along with people that repeatedly experience anxiety sensations and anxiety symptoms. So I'm excited to present this to you because now we can finally get to the root causes of why we're experiencing these things and heal, not manage. Heal, not cope. Heal anxiety so we can become who we were meant to become. What is an anxiety sensation? An anxiety sensation is something that seems like it comes out of the blue, like a body zap, or an immediate feeling of dizziness, or a feeling of forgetfulness even, right? Very common. These anxiety sensations don't linger like symptoms do. They come and they go, but they seem to always come back. Sometimes we know the reasons for them, other times we don't, right? Now, I've recognized some connections to these anxiety sensations, my friends, and here they are. Anxiety sensations are immediate conscious or unconscious signs of environmental threat. So the inner child within is saying, whoa, we recognize something here, and we feel like it may be a threat to either your social status, or your physical life, or something else, right? So when that inner child or subconscious side of us gives us an anxiety sensation, we must understand that we must respond to it in a very compassionate and loving manner. Thank you for the sensation. Thank you for the warning in this environment. Or maybe I imagined something happening in the future and you sent me this anxiety sensation to remind me that there may be a threat upcoming. Wow. Can you imagine responding rather than reacting to these anxiety sensations in this way, in this loving way towards that inner child? What a difference. Anxiety sensations are a sign of overwhelm. Overwhelm. There's just too much on your to-do lists. You're just taking on too much. You're saying yes to everybody and you're saying no to yourself, consciously and unconsciously. With this sign, this anxiety sensation sign of overwhelm, we must go, finally, I get the chance through this anxiety sensation to recognize that I'm overwhelmed. Now, remember this. Just because you feel overwhelmed doesn't mean you get to become helpless in front of other people. This is very important because some people feel the anxiety sensation, they know they're overwhelmed, and they begin talking about it to other people, and they feel worse and worse and worse, in the hopes that others can help them get over their overwhelm. Don't do this. See the anxiety sensations and the overwhelm as a message that something in your life you are overdoing, or you're neglecting things in your life. Very important. Oh my goodness. Anxiety sensations are also a recognition that you woke up every single morning without an intention. If you don't wake up with a conscious intention for the day, guess what? Your subconscious will make one up for you. Subconscious mind is going, okay, well, who does he or she want to become today? What kind of emotional states does he or she want to go through? Well, we're not getting anything from the conscious side of this system. Well, let's give them this instead. And the subconscious intention is usually connected to what's been practiced the most often, right? What's been practiced the most often. And if fear has been practiced the most often, that will be your intention. You will literally sort for things that could potentially be threatening and fearful in your environment constantly if you don't have a conscious intention, a focus, a guide, something you want to make sure that you focus on throughout the day in the morning. Powerful, powerful stuff. What else is an anxiety sensation? It's an overemphasis on preventing the worst from happening. Imagine that. So you're going through your day looking to prevent. And most of the time, we're looking to prevent ourselves from feeling uncomfortable. So we stay away from that cafe where we normally order our teas. We make it such a big deal. Or we don't socialize, or we don't get creative. We don't do anything outside of our comfort zones because we're constantly preventing a bad feeling from showing up. A bad feeling is fine. Our goal is to make sure that that initial feeling or anxiety sensation doesn't turn into an emotion. Because once it turns into an emotion and the juices are running and your body is mobilizing for some threat, which is actually just air, there is no threat, then it becomes a problem. If you experience an uncomfortable feeling, recognizing the message beyond it, great. Responding to it compassionately and lovingly, great. And healing your anxiety rather than managing your sensations. Oh my God, what a world to live in. And finally, when it comes to anxiety sensations, there is an overemphasis and an overactivation of the sympathetic system within us. This fight, flight, or freeze response is constantly activated, and you're not giving yourself any time to slow down, any time to move yourself from one brainwave state to another. Beta is conscious, analytical thinking nonstop. And it's also being on high alert all the time, right? You feel tired, but wired, right? So there's always this sympathetic activation, and barely ever is there any parasympathetic activation where you slow things down because your speed dictates whether something in the environment, in this situation, is a threat or not. So the faster you go, the more you take on, the more threatening this world is, and your perceptual filters will begin to shift in line with what you're doing. You will literally begin perceiving everything as a threat rather than it being safe. We don't want this. So those are some of the reasons for anxiety sensations, those feelings that come out of the blue. What about anxiety symptoms? Well, when we're talking about symptoms, I'm talking about feelings in the body, right, that just don't seem to go away, right? They're always there in the background. You wake up in the morning, right? You stretch yourself out, and then you go, it's still there. And then all of a sudden your posture changes, and all of a sudden you rush through things and you try to distract yourself from the symptom, right? And you take out this negative energy out on others, right? I've been in that place. So these symptoms are there all the time. They linger. Symptoms, to start off, if you're experiencing them, comment below, are undischarged emotions that have compounded over time. Undischarged emotions that have compounded over time. So you've experienced emotions, but you haven't had an outlet in terms of getting them out of your system. So you feel anger, and in this society, we're taught to suppress, suppress, suppress. Don't show your anger. Don't show your fear. Don't show your frustration. Don't show your panic. Don't show anything. Well, where does the energy go? Where do the emotions get stored over time? They get stored in the largest container that you have, which is your body. That's why your subconscious mind is your body. What a connection. So if these emotions have no place to go, they're going to show up in your body, and they're going to show up as anxiety symptoms that continue to linger. Anxiety symptoms are unexpressed ideas, right? I've recognized this myself because I used to be in social gatherings and people would say things and I would get smaller and smaller and smaller in my chair, right? Making sure that I don't share my own ideas because someone might laugh at me or I might say the wrong thing, right? And so the threat of that kept my ideas to myself until I wrote my first book. And when I wrote that book, I let everything out. And when I let everything out, I began to share my ideas with people, my creativeness, even if it was an idea that I didn't spend too much time thinking about, I let it out. And I found that my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health all got better. So share your ideas, or they'll turn into anxiety symptoms. Unforgiveness is another sign of anxiety symptoms. Have you really forgiven yourself for some of the mistakes that you've made in the past? Mistakes. How could you possibly blame yourself for things that you did as a child? You had no capability to think. You had no capability to respond to your parents or your other authority figures. Give yourself a break, for goodness sake. Forgive yourself. And the way we forgive ourselves isn't through logic or thinking. The way we forgive ourselves is through reframing processes that get us crying a little bit, get us yawning, get us sweating, getting this emotion and this energy out so that we can truly, in our hearts, forgive ourselves. Remember, there's a big difference between forgiving in your head and forgiving in your heart. Know the difference and do the right thing. Finally, unresolved childhood traumas. Unresolved childhood traumas. I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, Dennis, I've never had a childhood trauma. And then they start meditating. And then they start doing things for themselves. They start doing the altered state work, right? And then they go, my God, I never realized this happened to me at 6 or happened to me at 9 or happened to me at 12. Yeah, because as you continue to give back to yourself, what starts to happen is there's more information from the past that begins showing up. What do people do when that happens? They get afraid. They say, what I'm doing is not working. It is working. Because the more you recognize the roots of your fears, the more opportunity you have to reframe them, to move forward in time, to get that repressed and suppressed emotion out of you. So when something shows up and it's related to the root cause of your fears and anxieties, move directly towards it and say, thank you for this information. Now I can do something about it. I no longer have to carry this around because I am more than anxiety. How do we deal with sensations? Responding. How do we deal with symptoms? Altered state work. You can't heal your anxiety completely without altered state work. Remember that. Reframing. And so, while you're dealing with either, make sure, warrior, that you're receiving the wisdom that you need. Because I can provide you with the knowledge you need, but only you can provide yourself with the wisdom that you need, the insights and the clarity that come out of nowhere, right? It's a beautiful thing when you gain the knowledge and the wisdom. My goodness. Then we stop talking about our anxiety so much. So, color meditation, mantra meditation, and emptiness meditation. These 3 forms of meditation you can look up. You can look up on my YouTube channel if you'd like and learn more about. This is how we gain the wisdom. Grounding. Take your shoes off, take your socks off, get in the grass, get on the sand, whatever it is, but connect with the earth. Even if you feel like you're doing very little for yourself, consciously, your system appreciates what you're doing for it. And finally, conscious breathing practices. We want to get to a place where we consciously breathe the right way with depth, rather than succumb to the unconscious breathing patterns that are connected to fear and the fight or flight system. Warriors, I want you right here, right now, to comment below and converse with me and all the other warriors here. Please share this video with someone or a group that needs it, because I know there are so many people out there that need this knowledge that will lead to the wisdom that they need to heal themselves. Remember, you are more than anxiety. I love you from the bottom of my heart. This has been great. Thank you for spending the time with me. And if you have any other questions on any of the anxiety meditations that I made for you, head on over to this website right here. Bye-bye.